What up, y'all? Okay, so today we're going to talk about how the narcissist sold their soul. If you have your sugar-free Red Bull, drink it with me. Okay, so Matthew 16:26, it talks about how what would it be like for, or what would profiteth a man to gain the whole world, but then lose his own soul. And so, what seems to have happened with the narcissist is early in childhood, they abandoned their true self and for a false self, for the mask. People will talk sometimes about how early in childhood they had an imaginary friend. Some will talk about how in the spiritual realm, you know, when we talk about in this platform vibrations and energy, there is something in the spirit to be said about that. And that they say that, you know, there's, demons are known in the biblical narrative for roaming on the earth. They were the hybrids of old, and they couldn't go to heaven, couldn't go to hell, so they were dirty spirits. And so they were once in flesh and wanted to be ravishing flesh again. And so they look for open individuals. You know how they say, if you open a door, don't open a door, through, say, doing seances, doing, tarot and any kind of witchcraft, because that opens a door. And when you open a door to these types of things, then especially early at childhood, you have the ability to be, there's rights. There's a situation with rights when it comes to, with these things. So you don't want to have given it the ability to, an ability to come into you like that. And if you're saved, then you're covered from those types of things, but you could still be dealt with from the outside. And that's usually why the narcissist comes to you. But they say that these spirits, that are roaming the earth can see them, see that they are their energy level, their vibration level, then they attach to them early on. So it kind of starts like that. But they have given themselves up, and it's sad, but what seems to have happened is they've given, as they sell their soul, they have to sell it, and it changes them. It makes them give some things up, right? When you sell your soul, you can't have God's, complex anymore. Right? So that's why they have no love. That's why they lost their empathy. That's why they lost their integrity for goodness, their peace, their joy, and their ability to repent. And they are aware, so don't be fooled. A lot of people will say they're unaware. They do operate that way, but they are aware, because if they can turn it on and turn it off, and if there's an individual that, will get them in trouble, for instance, then they will turn it off until they can turn it back on and abuse again. So they are aware, but they act as if they have no awareness. The only way that they can have joy and happiness, which they don't have joy and happiness, it's more like their love is having control over you. So that would be what they'd consider love. Their power is their joy and happiness. That would be what they substituted it for. And that's why when when they can only be happy when they knock you down to the ground and destroy you. That's why they enjoy doing that. That's why they go out to do that. And that's also, why they're miserable, because they will never understand the things that we do. They are the opposite of humanity. And so for them to have what they would consider peace to them would probably be some sort of temporary fulfillment, would be out there doing destructive measures to good-hearted people. And so that's what they do. That's their job. And that's why they can never have appreciation. You can give them the whole world. You can give them everything, and they will never be happy. They're insatiable. To where you and I could sit you'll be living out of a garage and still be happy, depending on how you feel inside, Fulfillment doesn't come from the outside, and that's the thing. True fulfillment doesn't come from the outside. And as much as we know that, as much as we know that, and we're always working on, being the best that we can be from the inside out. We do have things from the outside affect us. We're human. But true fulfillment, we all know, people of humanity, that it comes from the inside first. And so we don't have to seek validation. Sometimes we may, but we don't. It's nice to as well, but we don't have to. That outside validation is their lifeline. When they sold their soul, they went now from having everything's opposite, right? So we seek validation truly, as at least that's what we need to. We know this from the inside out. From God within out, from kingdom within out, okay? Nothing out here will solve your problem. But for them, they have flipped it. Now, there's nothing in, and they have to seek their validation from without only, And what happens is like in humanity, like we seek from within, God feeds us from within, and we shine out. But for them, they have to seek from out and pull in and feed these demons. That's why it's a black hole. That's why they're always running around, because the contract that they made also is a consuming contract. It's an all-consuming, insatiable contract. And it will never be satisfied. And so that's why they're always running around, and they never have peace, because they're continually looking for validation, and they can only get it from the outside. And the outside validation, God made it permanent in the system of this world, that God made it to where you will never truly get validation from out there. But see, now they've denied him, so they denied getting it from within. And so they have to believe the lie, and they have to do what their CPR is to go out and run around. And they have to satisfy these insatiable demons inside. So that's why they're always running around, and they're always looking for, maybe they're gaslit to believe in its love, but it's power and control. And, a lot of people don't talk about this, but it's also worship. The enemy is really big on worship, and so are those entities, and so are they. If you look at them, and when you, as the empath, before you woke up, you realized, after you woke up, that one thing you were doing that made you ingenuine, me ingenuine, was that we would people please. And we would put somebody as if the narcissist is so number one in our life that, they can become above God. I mean, maybe unconsciously, right? But that's worship. And you degrading your integrity for the narcissist like we did is worship. And so I don't think it's talked about a lot, but it's power, control, and worship. They want to be worship. And I mean, that's what, jealousy and envy, that's what they do. They see in you what is a beautiful thing. And you should think about it, because in the case of me, I remember mine would tell me, and I had to think about it for a while, but I mean, there was several things, sometimes you have a lot of things going for you, but one major piece I'll never forget was she liked my passion, and she used to tell me that a lot. And so one thing that she liked was, well, she liked my passion, she felt like my humility, and I think those were traits that she wanted to possess. And that's the thing, they find people that they're drawn to that have traits that they want to possess. I mean, they also have those crazy randoms just to get by and to get fuel. But in the cases of the primary, and the primary and sometimes the secondary, because sometimes the secondary is really the primary that no longer would take the abuse, but then would allow them to still have biddings with them as a secondary. And so they may fall into that trap. So it's usually the primary and sometimes the secondary, but they always have tertiaries too. That they like their traits, so they want to steal those traits. And that's why they study you and they copy you, and then when they devalue you, they have to project all of that negative energy. And so that's why they need you. They need you to project their negative energy onto you so they could take your traits, but only if you allow them. They have no emotional regulation. You regulate everything for the narcissist when you're the primary supply, and so they will never have peace. Are they damned, or do they have hope? Maybe. I like to, give everybody, think that everybody has the ability for repentance. But I think only two things could allow that to occur possibly would be deliverance and salvation, or rock bottom to a place, and then deliverance, salvation. So, but I would say that if you have a narcissist in your life, I would not look towards any of that, because it would be very far and few between. I don't even know if I've heard any cases. So, and you can't, as being the abused victim, spend any more time with the abuser, because they will always, you'll never have the power. You'll always go in to try to help them, so you'll never have the ability to help them correctly. And if they've abused you, it's easy for them to go back on that track with you, but they're always abusers anyway. But they have to go for outside validation. They're just like Satan. And so if these are things that make you know that you're dealing with something very malevolent, man, that doesn't make any other sense except to say that. You will start to see, if you believe and have faith that this is going on, and that these things exist, that I believe God will allow you to see it if you are around this stuff long enough. But typically, I think around it and unawoke, because that's where you have grace. But I have seen these things, these entities, the spiritual and the physical form. And but they have every character of Satan. And so it's pretty hard to say that something spiritual is not going on there. It wouldn't make any sense. And for a cycle to work, and nobody trained or taught these individuals from the narcissism textbook, but they all run on cycles, it tells you that it's not the cycle of the narcissist, but the entities that are inside the narcissist that are demanding their insatiable needs to be met. That would be the cycle. And the narcissist may have a harem and may have a certain, way about them that makes it appear as it's their cycle, but it's not their cycle. Their cycle formed from the insatiability of the entities inside of them. And so that's how they built their harem. It was just to satisfy the minute amounts of insatiable desires of the entities. And if they can get more, they get more, but they're always searching. And when they have no fuel, that's when the entities sit back, and that's when you really see the narcissist, which would be destroyed because there's nothing in there. They have no character, no integrity, no personality. They haven't learned anything good on the earth, but only learned to manipulate. I mean, they could learn things that are scholarly, they could be a scientist, they can, be a doctor, they could learn these things, but when it comes to their personal attributes, there's none. And whatever they do have is just evil. They're always manipulating, lying pathologically, lying and cheating pathologically. They're manipulating pathologically. They're deceiving pathologically. Their joy is to destroy, and they love hatred. They are only happy when they do sadistic things to make you sick, hurt, and they have to have ultimate power. Their ideal situation is to be the commander of every room and every situation that they are in, that they are looked to as the god in wherever they are, the top individual. And that's how they view themselves. And they are individuals that look at us as just objects, like a toaster. And so they can easily attach and detach because they don't have love. And so they don't know how to attach. The detaching is easy temporarily, but they always come back because they're afraid of this abandonment situation that put them in this place in the first place. But I think that, a lot of times they could have just, and they could just be a golden child that was spoiled. And a golden child that was spoiled is an individual that was treated so well and never told no, that their parent, guardian, solved all their problems for them and petted them with every situation and always told them they were right and bought them and got them anything that they wanted and needed. That's what the golden child is. And so because of that, it spoiled them. Spoiling would be defined as making something that was worthless, useless, to, kill it. And that's what happened. There's all kinds of pathways you can take in life, and there's all kinds of energy out there. It's kind of like when you go to work, you could probably take 5 different routes, but you kind of get stuck on one route. And that's why we have to switch up the energy when we leave the narcissist. But the narcissist is stuck on a pathway that they chose as well. And we all have choices. They all had choices. This earth is the ability to have autonomy and to have choices. And, they just chose the wrong choices. And to be around them is for them to always be out to undermine you. And they can only feel happy when they take a high value individual and push them down to the ground, because they are miserable. And the only thing that brings them a little bit of what they would consider joy would be destruction to somebody that's above them, so that they could feel as if they're not alone. And if they could bring you below them in, happiness, then that makes them feel at least like they're better than somebody. And if they can get you to unlife yourself, then they will feel that they're not going to a bad place by themselves, so to speak. I mean, if a lot of people believe that to unlife yourself could be a form of blasphemy because you're not giving God a chance to help you. And I don't know where that is the answer to that. I don't know how I feel about that at all. But nevertheless, it brings some sort of, what would be goodness to them if things like that occurred. Which sounds crazy, right? But you're dealing with crazy individuals. Literally, that when you have no love, they traded love for hate. They traded, integrity for manipulation. They traded joy for control and power. And the thing is you have a spirit, you have a mind, will, and emotions, and then you have your flesh. And what they did early in childhood is they kicked their spirit man out, and they work completely off the ego, which is your flesh. And when you get the mind, will, and the emotions and the flesh together, the flesh will always run it unless you have the control of the spirit over it. It's the only power over those. And when they kick the spirit out, their innate spirit, which was the individual in there that could be saved, it got filled with something else. And when it got filled with something else, that's why they went obsolete. They went to having nothing in there. And they're living from their ego and thinking it's their spirit man now. And when they hear their intuition, they think it's coming from their true innate self, or from, a good spiritual sense. And it's not. It's coming from an entity that is in that seat. And it's the opposite of humanity. So their intuition is opposite of us. And it tells them what to do. And determining how many entities are in that spirit man seat, you can have many. You can be infested. If you're infested, then that's what would make you more of, from a lesser narcissist to a greater or an ultra narcissist, would be that the more entities that you have in there, the more options for taking down an individual would give you. So it makes you more powerful. It's kind of like two brains is better than one, two minds is better than one when you're trying to solve a situation. Well, if they have one entity in there, so it's their ego and that entity giving them information. Well, but as it expands and it gets, say, 10 entities or 20 entities, in the Bible, Legion had, I think, 10,000. Legion means 10,000, I believe, demons. So then you have, there's probably a balance and an imbalance there. It's probably like up until a certain amount of entities, they can be more powerful, but then when they get infested too far, it's too much, and they turn into, like Legion, completely crazy. Like it's too many. So I think it just, there's all kind of, options there. But what church will tell you a lot of times, and I've thought about this for a while, but that to get to heaven or to get saved, you need to have, get saved through Jesus Christ. But what they don't tell you is that you need something else. You need a soul. And it's not talked about a lot, and it's probably not talked about a lot on purpose because, the enemy is always sidetracking humanity. So a lot of times we have misinformation in this world or disinformation in this world, and then he also gives us a lot of options, and a lot of those options are not good for us. He can't make you do anything really unless you open doors, and if you've opened doors, you need to pray to shut those doors. So I think that's what's going on with the narcissist, that they'll never be happy. And the other thing, they know what they're doing, but what gets them is I think the addiction to this whole thing. They're addicted. And if you ever looked at an addicted drug addict, they're going to continue to do anything to get the drug. They will destroy anybody in their way to get the drug, so that they're addicted to supply. Then they're doing the same thing. It's not like they have the ability to repent, but there's so many addictions there that they will probably never get to that point. So they're on this constant circle to nowhere. They go nowhere. That's why they will put you on a bus to nowhere. It's love bomb, devalue, discard, and then hoover again. And they will continually do that with you and anybody else in their harem until they completely destroy you. Leave you with absolutely no life at all, no vitality at all, or you unlife yourself, really. And then, they'll just move on. So, give me a like, subscription, a thumbs up. Love y'all. Until next time, sold you up. Peace out, y'all.